Friends, we are going to begin the funeral service for Ms. Sharon Karlin. For anyone who is in attendance, if you have a cell phone, please place it in the silent mode at this time or turn it completely off. I'd also like to take this time to welcome anybody via live stream on behalf of the family. Thank you for being in support of the family today. Services will be conducted by the family of Sharon, as well as Jeremy Seaver, who will be assisting with the prayers today. We're going to start with the ancient tradition of cutting of the kriya, or the ribbon that the family is wearing. If the family wants to please rise.
So the tradition of kriya is one of the oldest traditions that we have. It comes from the story of Genesis when Jacob heard that his son Joseph had died and tore his clothes. So today, nowadays, we don't always necessarily tear our clothes, but instead we use this ribbon as a sign, again, this outward sign, so that it acknowledges that someone in your family, your community has passed away, and someone that you share a very close bond with. So I'll say the words, and if you'll repeat them a little bit after me. Baruch atah Adonai, Dayan Ha'emet. That means praised are you, Lord our God, the true judge. So even though we don't know why, we still have to try to affirm our faith that there is a reason, and that God is the true judge and the judge of the truth. And with that, I would like you to tear your ribbon. You can make a little tear, you can make a big tear, you can go up and down, sideways. Traditionally, people will wear the ribbon for a period of 7 days on outer garment, as a sign of mourning. And then some people will also wear it on an inner garment for a period of 30 days. And again, the way we do this is that so when people see you, whether it's around town or at the grocery store or whatever, they see that ribbon on you, they know that you're experiencing loss, and that it's just another way to cue them in as to how they should interact with you and how they should treat you. From Psalm 15, Adonai, who may abide in your house, who may dwell in your holy mountain? Those who are upright, who do justly, who speak the truth within their hearts, who do not slander others or wrong them or bring shame upon them, who scorn the lawless but honor those who revere God, who give their word and come what may do not retract, who do not exploit others, who do not take bribes. Those who live in this way shall never be shaken. And from Psalm 23, I'll recite it first in Hebrew, and then I'll ask everyone to join with me in English. And the English of Psalm 23 can be found in the service folder. Adonai ro'i lo echsar, binot desha yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yinachaleni, nashi yishovev, yancheni b'ma'aglei tzedek lama'an shemo, gam ki elech begetzel mavet, lo irara ki ata imadi, shiftecha umishantecha hema yinachamuni, taroch lefanai shulchan neged sorarai, dishanta b'shemen roshi kosi revaya, ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni, kol yemei chayai, v'shavti b'veit Adonai le'orech yamim. And together, please. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This next psalm is from Psalm 121. Esa enai el heharim, me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, the maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and coming, now and forever. And from the book of Ecclesiastes, for everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silent and a time to speak. I feel that these words are very poignant for us, for the time that we find ourselves, from a time to gather and a time to refrain from gathering. We've been experiencing all of those things. And just a few moments ago, the family participated in that time to tear, when they tore their Kriya ribbons. And ultimately, there will be a time to sow and a time to mend as they begin the process of healing. And sometimes we don't know what to say, and it's that time to keep silent. But right now, it's also a time to share some thoughts and to share some memories of Sharon. So this is also a time to speak. So at this point, I'll ask for members of the family to come forward and share some thoughts. Okay, start. Thank you.
Always getting stage directions. Pardon me, I made a few notes. I thought I'd begin by welcoming everybody. Thank you all for coming, and I appreciate you being here. Those of you that are watching online, thank you. I know that there's a lot of people that wanted to be here that couldn't come, so I know that they're watching, and I appreciate that as well. For those of you that have known Sharon for a long time, you know she was pretty much stone deaf. So on Thursday, I got a text. It says, "Don't fall over. I found the hearing aids I wanted, and I ordered them. They'll be here in 10 days. Well, it took 10 years, but she finally figured out what she wanted, though she would have heard us very well. So I was looking around for quotes, and I came across this one. It's an unknown author, but it says, "What is an aunt? It's someone who loves like a mother, keeps secrets like a sister, behaves like a friend, can get on your case when you need it, and is always your biggest fan and cheerleader." I couldn't find more words that were more appropriate for Sharon. She did all of that for me, and she stood by me no matter what I did. And I fussed with her, and we fought, and I had my share of issues, and she never faltered. She was always there, and she never stopped for 1 second to be there to support me and to help me and to root me on and cheer me on in everything I did. And she loved in every way that she could possibly do that, and with a very open heart and a soul that didn't have a harsh word for almost everybody. Once in a while, there was a thing. So how do you describe Sharon? And I thought, I went back in my memories and I came up with a couple of quick stories. I was 6 years old and I came downtown with her. My mom dropped me off and we were gonna go spend the day together going around and doing things. And so we get on the bus, on the bus and we were going. And we get to wherever we were going and she gets off the bus, opens the doors, and remember, I'm 6 years old, and the doors closed. And I couldn't, and the bus went. So I'm standing on the bus and the lady behind me yells at the bus driver, "Hey, she forgot her kid." Yeah. And I can see her, I never lost sight of her because we went just down the block and she's standing over where she was standing and doing this. Where is the kid? What did I do with the child? They stopped the bus. The lady, nice lady, opened the door for me. I get off the bus. Like I said, I never lost sight of her. So I walked over, and she looked at me and she said, "Don't you do that again." Okay. So that's one. This one was a little more complicated, but I was 13. She frequently would come and stay with my mom and dad and me. She would spend weekends with us sometimes. And occasionally on those, when that opportunity arose, my mom and dad would go out socializing. So they go out one night, and I had gone to bed, and about 1 o'clock in the morning, she starts yelling my name, and what's wrong? She said, there's something going on. She said, it's raining in the back, but it's not raining in the front. So I get up and I look, and sure enough, there's water spewing out in the back window, and nothing's going on in the front. And so she gets on the phone, and she calls the fire department, and she says, "I need you to come here because it's raining in the back and not in the front." Now, I'm not quite sure what the operator said, but her response was, "Do you know who I am? I am the daughter of Leo S. Karlin." This was true, but unfortunately Leo had been dead for 10 years. So that was a couple of ways that that was very Sharon, and that she cared about things. What ultimately had happened, just so you have a rounding out on the story, is someone set off the sprinkler system in the parking lot, so the water was spewing out to nothing, and the alarm was going off in the front, and that's what was happening, why it was raining in the back and not the front. So that's later years. My mother and father both took ill, and there was nobody that did more for either of them. To her own detriment at times. She put herself in bad positions with money and whatnot just to make sure that both of my parents had whatever they wanted, whatever they felt they needed. Even things they didn't need, she bought them anyway. She was like that. Whether it was clothes or making sure they were in the right place, seeing the proper doctor, seeing the proper specialist. She stayed on that and took care of them in a way that was amazing to me, and that I could not have done for them what she was able to do. In the years since they've been gone, we spent a lot more time together because we could. We spent a lot of holidays together. She loved coming over to the house and staying with me, and we would, I work following in the family tradition of, or at least on my side of the family, of singing and doing things of that nature. So she would come to my jobs and listen and sit there and sip her wine and talk to, there's some folks here that were there that met her that way. Thank you again. And she would just chat up the night and drink her wine and have a grand time listening to everybody sing, me singing, her, all that. And there she was at, 75, 78, staying out till 2, 3 in the morning, having a great time. Then we would get home and she'd say, I'm a little tired. Okay. The last couple of years, though, things were a little different. Once she found out she had cancer, she talked a lot about a lot of reflection in life and a lot about what's going to happen next and what to do when that time comes. She was She was making a lot of lists. I found tons of lists of things that she wanted and things that needed to be accomplished, and I hope I did her okay. I think I nailed it all, even if I do say that. She had made guest lists for this. She had made lists for what food should be served. But, sometimes it was a little over the top, but I understood. So, I guess in conclusion, or sort of rounding to a conclusion, I've had all kinds of people in and out of my life. It was co-workers, friends, members of my own family. But until these last 4 days, I never had a day in my life that she wasn't part of. I'm a bit numb, and I'm not exactly sure how life works without Sharon, because I've never had to think about it. She was my rock, my shelter in any storm, even the ones I created for myself. She was my support system through all my addiction recoveries. She was there even when my own parents weren't. She stood by me and was there with forgiveness and an open heart. I have no idea where life goes from here. I just know it'll be a little less joyful without her smile and kind words, and most of all, her love. So I wish you to sleep well, my angel. Please continue to support us all and keep an eye on all of us for all the people you loved and cared about, and the people you held dear during your life here on earth. Now that you're out of pain and restored to your glory, may you rest, be peaceful, knowing you did all you could do for everyone here. I'll do my best to keep making you proud. Sorry. All right. And everyone here will keep you alive with all their good and happy memories. On Sunday, before she went to sleep, we were texting a little. If you ever got a text or an email from Sharon, you know that they needed deciphering. And so, I fortunately speak a little Sharonese, so I was able to kind of get through most of it. But the last thing she sent me was 3 words, and it said, "I love you." I think I can safely say for everybody in this room that we love you too. May the memory of my dear, sweet Aunt Sharon be a blessing for all of you. Thank you. If there's anybody else that would like to speak, please feel free to stand up and come forward. We would love to have more stories or memories.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle. I'm friends with Craig, been friends with Craig for what seems like forever, probably now about 15 years. And I found this poem by Maya Angelou that I'd like to share. She said, "I've learned that whenever I decide something with an open heart, I usually make the right decision. I've learned that even when I have pains, I don't have to be one. I've learned that every day you should reach out and touch someone. People love a warm hug or a friendly pat on the back. I've learned that I still have a lot to learn. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. that rang true to me with Auntie Sharon. The minute Craig and I became friends, she adopted me. She became my Auntie Sharon. And she always made me feel welcome and loved, and so much part of the family that if I'd done something, and she'd be like, well, what did you do that for? You should do this way, and always with an endearing heart. She was always so loving, so gracious, and so kind. Craig shared so many of the stories of when we would go out. She was so much fun to be with. She'd be like, do you want to have some wine with me? And all of our friends, when we were all out, were always so endearing to her, and they would come and they would be Auntie Sharon. So she was endeared to everyone, shared her love and kindness with everyone. And I am so fortunate and so blessed that she was a part of my life. And I, like Craig and all of you, will miss her so very much. Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Vivian Killebrew. Sherry and I worked together at Marshall Fields and then Macy's for, I think I've known Sherry for like 36 years. And when I first started at Marshall Fields, we worked on commission, and it was doggy dog. You didn't go in Sherry's territory, and she wasn't coming in yours. And I had not met Sherry, and one of the coworkers said, have you met Sharon Karlin? I said, no. She goes, oh my God, bless you. You're closing with her tonight. So I met Sherry, and we hit it off right away. And I could stay here all day and tell you stories, but I'll just tell you a few. In the early days, Marshall Fields had no policy. You could bring things back from years. And there's these two big, heavy-set black women that came in that wanted to return something. The zippers were broke. There was dirt around the neck. And Sherry calls me. She goes, Vivian, there's these two black women over here. They're going to beat me up if I don't take this stuff back. I said, okay, Sherry, I'll be right there. So I come over, black woman, poster child for Marshall Fields. I said, ma'am, I'm sorry, we can't take this back. She says, why? I said, because it's been used, it's been worn, and evidently it was too small for you because the zipper's broke. So Sherry is hovering under me, you guys. So I put it in the bag. I said, thank you, have a nice day. I turned around. Sherry almost jumped into my arms. Oh, Vivian, you're my savior. I've got to buy you coffee. Oh, and we laughed. And when I met Sherry, I was single. She was there when I got married. She was there when I had my babies. They called her Aunt Sherry. She was there when my husband passed. She held my hand. She was a good friend. She was just like my Jewish mother, my sister, my friend. She was everything. And not just to me. There were many people. If Sherry liked you, she'd do anything for you. If she didn't like you, she stayed away from you. She'd go, that's a bad one there. I'd go, okay, Sherry. And Sherry would work so hard, they should have a plaque for her in the State Street store. She would get into so much trouble. They would always try and find something for Sherry to do, so she'd keep her busy. So years later, when she left the selling floor, she retired. I look up, she came back. Are you crazy? What are you doing here? I had nothing to do. So they gave her a section in the cashmere department, and it must have been maybe 50 cashmeres, and they were folded perfectly. This lady comes up and grabs one from the bottom, and they all fall, and Sherry goes to the lady's hand, I just folded all those cashmeres. And my friend Terry are like catty corner looking, going, cracking up, laughing so hard. I said, now let's see. Which manager are we gonna call to save Terry's job? And you always knew to call the old-time managers because they knew Sherry. You didn't call those little young ones that just got out of school and you had shoes older than them. And it would go on like that for years and for years. I mean, people would come in and go, I said, well, ma'am, you don't have a receipt. Do you know who was helping you? It's that little lady with the long white hair. I said, okay, it would be Sherry. And then there was a time a lady came and she goes, oh my God, what did you do? What did they do to you? You waited on me when I graduated high school and your hair was long and black. And we just looked at each other and we laughed. And she was just, I mean, the sweetest person. And time would go on. And I'll never forget it. My friend Terry and I worked at different counters. And my husband came in to pick me up, and he was talking to Terry. I'm sure Terry remembers this. And she calls Sherry. She goes, there's this black guy over here. I think he's hitting on me. Sherry turns around and looks and goes, you fool, that's Vivian's husband. What does he want with you? And we just howled. Sherry and my husband were like two peas in a pot. My husband grew up in Philadelphia, and he went to a Jewish school. And Sherry says to me, are you sure Ron's black? I said, well, look at him. She goes, because he knows more about Judaism than I do. How did that happen? And we would just laugh and roll, And time would go on when we were all young and single, and we would drink after work. And then time would go on when I had to leave to pick up my kids from daycare. And then time would roll on even more. And my son says to me, Aunt Sherry sent me a card. He had graduated from college, and she never forgot. Each one of my kids, if it was a birthday or graduation, she always sent them a card. She was always asking them about them. And for Craig, she loved you. We heard all about the karaoke, and you had to hear everything. And let me tell you what he's doing now. And he brought a new car, and he did this, and he did. I said, okay, Sherry. And then a customer would walk up, and she'd go, just wait a minute. And she'd finish telling me, and the customer would stand there and wait. I think Sherry got away with more things. And we would just laugh. It would get so that we would say, Sherry, the young managers are working today. And she says, Hespa. And we would just laugh. But she was wonderful, and I loved her. She was like I said, she was my Jewish mother. She was my best friend, and I will truly miss her. And thank you for sharing her with us.
Hi, I'm the Terry and Vivian Stories that also work with Sherry. I met Sherry when I was hired at Marshall Field's Water Tower Place over 20 years ago. She was a DKNY specialist, and she had the most beautiful department I had ever seen. To this day, I don't think anyone had the merchandising skills and the attention to detail and the appreciation of beauty and fashion. But more than that, it was really a reflection of Sherry. Sherry had great style and taste, and it was her. I learned my job through her example. She inspired me to be my best when I was there. And then as I got to know her, we all know how fiercely devoted she was to her family and friends. Whether it was helping you out or just simply listening, she was there for you. If she believed in you, by God, she was there. She listened to me, and she advised me so many times over the years. I finally started calling her Dr. Karlin, which I think she kind of liked. And then, you know, as time went by and then the furlough, the pandemic came, we got into the habit, actually Stephanie and I and Sherry would check in on each other every day. And that habit never ended, all the way through till the end. We were calling every day, seeing what we could do for one another. And she was reciprocal, even when she was sick. If she could detect if there was something wrong with what was going on in your life, she picked up on it. Even though you were trying to hold back and be brave, she would say, well, what's going on? She just wanted to help, and she wanted to love. She was a wonderful friend. I'm going to miss her laugh, and I'm going to miss her long silver hair and those glasses. But most of all, I think we're all going to miss her love and her friendship. She was just one of a kind that I don't think we're ever going to find a replacement for. So, and thank you, Craig, for everything you've done to put this together. This is beautiful. Thank you.
My feeling is that this may have been the beginning of the sharing of the stories, but I don't think that this is going to be the end of the sharing of the stories. And it's a beautiful legacy to share, and the stories. And someone mentioned it's the feeling that you get, and whether it was the giggles and the chuckles or the bigger laughs and the smiles that you know are there because your cheekbones go up even when we're wearing these masks, that it sounds like that's really what she brought out in everyone that she worked with and that she spent time with and she interacted with. And from Rabbi Alvin Fine, he shares that birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage, from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again. From health to sickness and back, we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination. But life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage, made stage by stage, from birth to death, to life everlasting. In his sorrow, Job cried out, Adonai Natan va'Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai mevorach. God has given and God has taken away. Blessed be the name of God. We're about to begin the last prayer that we're going to be reciting here in the chapel. I would ask for those of you, if you're able, to please rise for the El Malei Rachamim, the memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Utohorim, Kezohar Harakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Sharon Karlin, Shahalcha Le'olama, Baal harachamim yastireha b'seter kanafav le'olamim, ve'itzror b'itzror hachaim et nishmata, Adonai hu nachlata, v'tanuach b'shalom al mishkava v'nomar amen. And if you will join me on the bottom left side of the service pamphlet. O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of thy presence, among the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament, unto the soul of Sharon Karlin, who has gone unto eternity. Lord of mercy, bring her under the cover of thy wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be God's possession, and may her repose be peace. Amen. You may be seated. Friends, this concludes the services here at the chapel. The interment and burial services will continue at Waldheim Cemetery in Forest Park. For those of you driving with us in the funeral procession to the cemetery, please keep the following safety precautions in mind. Please make sure that your bright headlights and your four-way hazard flashes are on at all times. Please be sure to obtain an orange funeral safety sticker to be placed on top of your car. And we'll be providing the cars in the procession with an orange sticker, the stickers on the windshield and the flag that's going to be on the top of the car. Please travel as close as safety permits to the car in front of you to avoid any gaps in our procession. As we make our way from here to the cemetery and we go through the various intersections, if the car in front of you goes through the intersection, please do proceed with caution. Please feel free to use your horn liberally as we go through those intersections, but please do your best to proceed and follow the car in front of you through those intersections. At this time, I will ask everyone to please rise and stand in place as we escort the casket and the family from the chapel. And lastly, the family has requested any memorial contributions may be made to the Ark. That information is available on the service folder, and for those of you joining us online, that information is also available on our website. Thank you.